Today, because we're going to be talking about some very different kind of things than you're used to hearing. Look at 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14. Don't be surprised. Satan himself can transform into an angel of light. You know that movie, the Transformers? I think I saw one a long time ago, maybe on an airplane or something. Transformers, you're looking at them and they're one thing, and then they boom, 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 and they fold and this and that, and they become another thing. Right? This is what demons can do. We're going to get to this. This is really the heart of the key of what we're going to be talking about today. Can I show you a video? Because 34 years ago, I produced a television, an 11-part series made for television on the Discovery Channel. I made two shows, actually. One was called Devils, Demons, Fact or Fiction. And the other one was called Wolves at the Gate. And it's about the fact that that ghosts are demons. Ghosts are always demons. Okay, but one of the part of the show that I did when I started it was a historical part of the show showing you how many cultures in the world have these theomorphic beings that look like demons, half animal, half human. And I looked in all the different cultures of the world, and I wrote it and I produced it. My friend at the time, he was a radio announcer on the radio, got a really super good voice, so he did the voiceover, but I wrote it and then I produced it. It was part of our show. Can I show you how many cultures of the world believe in demons?
In September 1994, the discovery of a cave 260 miles south of Paris, France, was released to the media. It was labeled as the Cave of the Century. And inside this cave, approximately 1,500 feet down beneath the surface, were 300 or so Stone Age drawings which had existed untouched for about 20,000 years. These drawings contained mostly what appeared to be depictions of animals, and in the gallery center was a large rock which held at its center point the skull of a bear, which had been intentionally placed there, as if to suggest that this rock were an altar of sorts used by those who had inhabited this cave. Alongside were found the miscellaneous bones of approximately 100 bears, as well as hearths, flints, and torches. In other caves previously discovered in Seminole Canyon in Texas and also northern Mexico were found cave drawings which were created approximately 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. They depicted not only the animals of the time, but also strange images of humans with animal features and described pictorially the perilous out-of-body voyages of a shaman or spiritual leader at that time. Archaeologist 𝑠ℎ𝑎𝑟𝑒𝑑 Turpin of the University of Texas at Austin claimed the art showed a unified belief system ranking as one of the oldest religious systems in the New World. Ancestors of these cave artists are believed to have inhabited this same region for as long as 12,000 years ago after migrating to the continent across the Bering Land Bridge in Alaska. There is such a word which describes a being with both animal and humanistic features, and the word is theriomorphic. Interestingly, though, this word is also commonly used to describe what demons look like. Among other images or references found in Sumerian clay tablets, which date approximately 8,000 years ago, are of the same type, half animal, half human being. but perhaps more clear and definable are those found in Egypt, which date to approximately 6,000 years ago. Here we find beings commonly shown with such features, yet they were labeled more as gods than as being evil, such as in the Great Judgment where Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming, supervises the scales weighing the deceased person's heart against the feather of truth. Thoth, the ibis-headed god, meanwhile, records the verdict for Osiris, the judge of the dead, and in the end, those judged unworthy to pass into eternity are fed to the beast, which was part crocodile and part hippopotamus, who lurked near the scales by Thoth, eagerly waiting to devour the hearts of those who failed to measure up. In Hinduism, we find a clear-cut definition of demons versus gods. Gods tended to have much the same features as men, while demons had theriomorphic features, as shown in this painting from the Pahari school in 1800 BC, depicting Kali fighting off a demonic army. In Hinduism, demons that normally exist in a dimension called Tavatimsa are the enemies of gods and are called asuras, yet each of the more powerful demons do have individual names, such as Jayeshtha, who rules evil and bad luck, or Shitala, demon of smallpox, or Bali, the great demon self-proclaimed owner of the worlds. In Buddhism, demons are said to live in different levels. Ghosts, for example, live in the realm of Petaphysia or Petas, while true demons such as Mara, the demon leader shown here on elephant, came to attack and destroy Buddha, and they reside or come from a dimension called Maraya, which is the true hell. In Tibet, the leader or devil is called Kayapa, while lower evil demons are referred to as Damu. In this Thangka 19th century painting, we find the wheel of life clasped by Mara, the lord of death, and its 6 sectors representing the realms of gods, titanic demons, departed spirits, hell, animals, and men. In China, once again, we not only find more images of theriomorphic design, but also now others such as dragons capable of human-like thought patterns with abilities of being able to change or influence the lives of men. In this scroll, we are shown the 4 kings of hell, rulers of the 4 quarters, for hell here is said to be organized in earth-like bureaucracies. The devil, or king of hell, known as Yen Lo, is shown here watching his lower demons driving the condemned into the river of hell, while he's surrounded by demonic officials and bureaucrats. Japan's ruler of hell and demons is known as Emma-O, and in this late 12th century drawing we see those condemned forever, beheaded upon the devil's trident. In ancient Rome, mostly we find only depictions of the various gods and goddesses, such as this mural from the House of Marine Venus in Pompeii. It shows Venus surrounded by angels, yet they did as well have a ruler of hell and the dead named Dispater. The Greeks' ruler of hell was Hades or Pluton, and the Greek word daemon later became the word demon. The Celts had Cernunnos, the horned one, which many believe to be the actual prototype of the horned devil of medieval Christianity. In Africa, devils and demons are believed by most of the people there, and they are said to involve themselves in their human affairs on the earth plane. They are usually referred to as witches. In this photo, we see a ceremony of Zulu witch smelling being performed by a witch smeller, finder, or Isanuka. They claim that witches, sorcerers, and evildoers smell like the flesh of their victims, who they have destroyed with their evil ways. The North American Indians, shown here wearing definite theriomorphic type masks, are attempting to summon medicine spirits to cure diseases. Their ruler of the underworld is a horned beast named Underwater Panther, and though mostly it's responsible for evil and tragedy, it's occasionally said to do an apparent good act, though somewhat suspicious as to the act's final outcome. In the South Pacific and Melanesia, demons and spirits are accepted as a way of life, as can be seen in these tribal masks. Another example can be seen in this wood carving. The Muslims as well have their theriomorphic entities, as shown here in a drawing taken from the Quran, depicting King Solomon in his court. The Christian religion, with its Holy Bible, is saturated with accounts of demons and its said ruler of hell, who goes by many names, such as Satan, Lucifer, the devil, son of morning, the liar, murderer, thief, destroyer, slanderer, etc. In Christianity, the devil is said to have once been one of the great angels of God. Residing in heaven, he was known as Lucifer, archangel of light. But then later, things began to go wrong in heaven. According to the story, Lucifer began to want more. He yearned for greater power, and amongst his fellow angels, he began to criticize God's plan, especially with regards to God's creation, named man. Angels are said to have been created by God to act as messengers and to serve and protect man. Unlike man, who was said to have been created in God's likeness.
Here for you. Yes? Okay, so I'll just switch in. I'll switch into something different. There was a guy. His name was William Mumler, back in 1832, and he was a photographer. Just a regular photographer guy. He would take pictures of you or your family and charge you money. And during the Civil War, he was taking pictures of people with their families to send to the soldiers and this kind of stuff. And one day, he took a picture of himself, and an image of his dead cousin that had been dead for 12 years appeared in the photograph. Appeared in the photograph. And from that time on, when he would take pictures of people, images of their dead family members would show up in these pictures. Now there's a picture, you know Abraham Lincoln. I mean, in the Philippines you don't know, but you've heard of Abraham Lincoln, everybody probably. He was assassinated, right, by John Wilkes Booth during the Civil War. It was about the Civil War, and they didn't like what he did. Okay, so after Mumler started to get to be known, about these strange pictures, Mary Todd Lincoln, which is here, that's Abraham Lincoln's wife, she went in to get her picture taken. And when they developed the picture, looks like Abraham Lincoln with his hands on her shoulder. Right? Looks like that, don't it? This is a real photo. This is a real photo. See, you can see his head here, and his shoulders, and his hands here. So, people would say, well, that proves that ghosts are real. Because there it is, okay? That would seem to prove that, well, ghosts must be real. And that's not the only photo. There's hundreds and hundreds. Can you see? Huh? Can you see this head? See the face here? There's another figure standing here, okay? Then there's a child here of this image, do you see? Now that would seem to be, you know, pretty good proof that, okay, maybe ghosts are real. Yes? Now what would be the concern about whether ghosts are real or not? There's what looks like a ghost of a woman coming down the stairs in a place that they say is haunted. That's what they say, that place is haunted. And many people have seen these kinds of things and had ghostly stuff happen. And maybe some of you, look, see a person standing there? Looks like? Well, see, because what you're doing is you're looking at these pictures with first glance. And your mind, which is trained by the world, tells you, well, if I see an image and it looks like a human, then it must be a human ghost. Right? But you're doing that without thinking spiritually. You see? You're doing that without trying to figure out, well, maybe there might be another different kind of explanation. Let me show you this. Here's an image around a baby. This was caught on a baby cam. There's the baby right there. Now you have this image. Now that looks like, oh, maybe there's a ghost in my house. You see? And it's hanging around the child. Why is it hanging around the child? Now, the thing that you don't see, it looks like a human form. There's the nose, the mouth, the chin. See? You look at that, and at first you just go, well, I don't need to look anymore. See? Your mind goes, well, I don't need to look anymore. I can see a human kind of figure, right? So if you operate on that level, you can get fooled by Satan. You see? Is there anyone here ever thought that they saw a ghost before? Had something in a house? Anybody here? Yes? Okay. Well, I'll explain to you what it was, because one of the things that turned into my job in the beginning of my ministry 34 years ago, because I worked with the police forces on different kinds of things, was when people started to learn that I kind of understood about demon things and stuff. If someone would call the police and say, oh, we're having all these things moving around in the house, objects moving, we hear voices, we see the figures going around, this, that, and the other. Our kids are being attacked. I mean, I went into houses where kids were being thrown out of their beds in the middle of the night. I went in houses where the demons were picking up women and throwing them up, lift them off the ground, coming up and being thrown against the walls. I mean, I've seen every kind of thing that you might think about of what demons can do in houses. Those are the things that I used to handle, because they used to send me out there, and they would send me out there to try and figure out, the people that are calling, are they on drugs? Are they crazy? Or is there really something happening? Eventually, the Catholic Church started giving me all of what they called was exorcisms in California, where I was working, including I did all what they called exorcisms on all of the priests. I did the priests, delivering them and the nuns. I handled all those cases. So I did that for many, many years. For like 7 years straight, I handled all these kinds of cases. And I mean, I wasn't a Catholic, I wasn't a priest or anything, but they didn't know what to do. They didn't have real exorcisms. So they gave it to me because they knew somehow I got the demons out. Okay, so I got involved with these kinds of things. And so I was trying to figure out, like, because in the beginning you'd have to go to this house, you know, and the demons, they see this guy there and he's trying to figure things out, and so the demons try and stay quiet and hide to try and make the people seem like they're crazy or this isn't true. See, demons know all this stuff. So you'd have to go and you'd spend a lot of time in these people's houses. Maybe I'd be there all night, like looking around, trying to see, like, is there really something going on here or not? See? I mean, that was my first part of my job. And then later on it grew into how do you get them out? Okay, but in the beginning it was just to go out there, under the police thing, and this thing, and figure out is there something real there or not. And then if there was something real, nobody really knew what to do. Okay, but eventually it grew into knowing what to do. That's what started leading me into this ministry. See? And so I went back. I came across this guy's work, this mumbler guy. Now there was see, there's the Lincoln thing. See these things? Here? These images. Now there was a famous case during William Mumler's time, where P.T. Barnum, I don't know if you know P.T. Barnum and Bailey Circus. It was the most famous circus in the world. And P.T. Barnum was a fraud expert. Okay, this is another thing. But he was a super rich guy, and so he wanted to prove that Mumler was false, that this was false, that this was fraud, that it was a trick. So P.T. Barnum, he had a photographer guy take 2 glass plates with images, one of the picture, and they put another one over it, and then they took the picture and they showed what looked like one of those. Double exposure, see? 2 things mixed together. And so the government came to prosecute this William Mumler. They put a case in New York. They did a law case against him to prove that he was a fraud, brought on by this P.T. Barnum, this rich guy, to expose him and show this is all fake, and this is all phony. What they were using at this time, back in the 1800s, was they would use glass plate cameras. If you know what that is. If you ever see the old Western movies, they have the big camera on the stand, on the tripod, and they pull the curtain over them, and then they hold up this thing and they go poof, and it goes a flash, poof, and it takes the picture, and it's taken on glass. I'll tell you the way that a demon shows himself to you. A strong man is only one demon. One demon comes in or gets involved with something, and he's just a demon that's a little bit bigger than the others, but not really so much more powerful. And what he does, if he wants to build a strongman kingdom in you or in your house, he starts getting you to do the same sins over and over and over, and the demon gets more and more powerful. Get it? The more demons he can bring into you or in your house, the more power he has. Yes? That's how it works. That's how it works. So, you know, this Legion guy, he had 6,000 demons in there. Okay? So he got a lot of power. If a demon wants to show himself to you and make you think that you're seeing an alien, or you're seeing an alien spacecraft, or you're seeing your dead uncle, or your mother who died 20 years ago, haunting your house. If they want to make you think that, why do they want to do that? So you're attracted. So you get involved. You see? You're not going to cast your dead mother out of your house, are you? No. You're happy to have her back. But these are demons. How demons work, because I've seen them do it. The one comes in and then he's like this, and then you have thousands of demon faces, separate spirits. They all come together like a puzzle. You know, if you ever did a jigsaw puzzle? They work like a jigsaw puzzle, and they come together with faces, heads, to make you see the image of what it is. It's not really what it is. Look. You see this image? This is a very ancient drawing, but can you see the image? At first, what do you see? Oh, I see this figure sitting here. But then look again. And what you see is a figure made of heads. Can you see? Can you see? It's not what you think it is at first. At first you see a figure. And then at first you go, oh, maybe that's a human. Is that a human? Oh my God, that's not a human. See? As you start looking at it more and more, you start realizing it's very complicated. Huh? It's much more complicated than what you think. Do you see? He's made of demon heads, many of them. Can you see it? This is somebody who used to see demons. They've seen them, cultures around the world. See? See? Can you get that on your... It's made of all these heads. You think you're seeing a form laying on the ground, but it's a bunch of heads coming together like a puzzle. Can you understand it? It's not what you think. You know, when you take did you ever do jigsaw puzzles? You know, you got a box and you shake it and it's all these different parts in there and you look at it and it doesn't make sense. But then you start putting them all together and eventually you have a scene of the mountains of the country or something. That's what they do. See, if you were to take a computer and start to step down into this photo, which I've done with photo enhancers, you would see that this whole image of Abraham Lincoln, see, even all this, see all this cloudy thing here? Look, there's a face right there, see? See, that one's pretty clear. There's another face right there, see? See the eyes? See the mouth there? The more you look at it, the more you see. But if you just go like, oh, Abraham Lincoln, you don't see it. Because Satan is the deceiver. Can you see faces in there? Now that I told you about it, you're starting to see it, aren't you? But before you didn't see it. And it's not from the power of my suggestion. You're starting to understand because teaching can work with the Holy Spirit to open up your spiritual eyes. Because the Bible says, be not deceived. And the only way that you can be not deceived is you have to not be ignorant of Satan's devices. If you were to look at this picture of this being and by the baby's crib, you'd see it's all made of heads, faces. And they're all demon faces. Clearly, they're demon faces. Okay? I want to show you one case that I got involved with, that I took computers and I started stepping into it to see what this face really was, because the people in this house were being attacked by what they said must be a ghost of a dead woman. So I went in there to see what was going on, and I got a picture where the demon was showing itself in the TV set. Demons will use TV and electronic things because they have capacitors, and they can tap into the energy of these things. Like demons that operate in your house or are attracted to you are attracted by frequency and vibration. Sin creates frequency and vibration that attracts demons like sharks with blood in the water. That's how they get attracted to you. That's how curses work. That's how these things work. I don't want to go on too extensive. We'll do a part 2 next week of hearing voices. Because I got plenty of things like, do schizophrenics really hear something? Do they really, we'll get into this kind of stuff. Were the people in the Bible schizophrenics who heard voices? See, we'll get into this and I'll show you. Is that okay? Yes. You got this sound thing ready, Chris? Huh? And be over here and just in case we need something or other. These are very old things because I told you it was 34 years ago from a TV show that I did 34 years ago, so you should have sound on there. You should have sound. Oh. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Is this interesting? A little crazy? Yeah. But you see, you come in contact with these things. These are what demons do. The Bible says demons come to deceive the entire world. And if you don't know how they do it, you can be deceived. Yes? Are you ready? In August 1992, we got the first of what was to become hundreds of such photos. We got a photo at a friend's house that was taken at an informal gathering that he was having of 2 women, one of which was the owner's sister, which showed something that was later to lead into this whole entire project. Now, this house was said by the owners to be haunted. It was said as well to be haunted by previous owners. And the reason for them saying that is that throughout the times that these people had lived there, an odd woman's voice could be heard at night, sometimes crying, going up and down the hallway. And at other times, strange, misty, milky type images could be seen floating at various locations throughout the house. Also, on several occasions, visitors as well as the owners had reported that a hand had actually tapped them on the shoulder. Well, when we got this photo back from the developing people, what we found really shocked us. What we saw was to the right of these 2 women, in a then turned off TV screen, was an old, haggard woman's face staring back out at us. Now, this all but confirmed to everyone that indeed the house was haunted, and that the house was haunted by an old woman. The crying, now a woman's face. Well, I looked at the photograph, and the more that I began to look at it, the more it began to bother me. As I turned this photo to the left or the right at various angles, I saw what appeared to be hundreds of various different things that almost seemed like small faces themselves. I couldn't quite make it out, but I swore that I was seeing something else. Now, other people that looked at this photograph thought I was nuts. Well, it's kind of a nutty subject to begin with, but as this thing began to bother me, I finally at last took it down to a photo enhancing lab, a professional company that specialized in enhancing photographs. They put different colored filters on their enhancer camera as they looked at the thing, and they magnified this thing at various depths. And we were actually able, in the end, to bring out what I thought I'd seen. Rather than this being an old, poor me type of ghost type of thing, this actual, what appeared to be woman's face, was actually comprised tight, like a jigsaw puzzle, of hundreds of various different little faces.
And these faces, rather than looking human as one would assume a ghost would look like, appeared more theomorphic. In other words, they appeared to be half animal, half human. They had the little pointy ears like an animal would have. They had the tight little eyes like maybe a cat or something like that would have. Rather than the standard nose, they had more of a snout. And the mouth was full of sharp, vicious-looking teeth. Well, this brought a whole new outlook on this thing, and I realized at that time that rather than dealing with a ghost in this house, we were dealing with a demonic presence.
Okay, so you can see that what you think you see is not what you see. And the more that you look, the more you see. And the more delivered that you get, the more you can start seeing all these masquerading things that Satan does. You want to see one more? Yes. Because I want to show you a lecture that I did at a school one time on explaining photos like this.
Previously in this lecture, we went through and we talked about a photograph that appeared in a TV set, one of our first photographs. And basically this is what, just to go back to that, is probably a good example because we talked so much about it. If we take the TV set here, and forgive my drawing abilities here, but if we have our TV set here, now what's the first thing that happened? The first thing that happened in this TV set was everybody saw the old haggard woman's face that was peering back out from the TV screen, okay? And again, forgive my the way I draw this, but this is the first thing that we saw. And then I mentioned the fact that after going through and having this thing enhanced, that other images began to actually be proven to exist in here. And this is basically what I meant by saying this. As it began to come out, what it did was there was another face that worked like this, and there's another eye here. There was kind of a cat kind of mouth kind of thing that went like this, and it had kind of animal things. Now what did I just do here? I just went and I split the image off, and so if you kind of looked at it, how it worked would be like this, where originally you think that you have one, but now all of a sudden you have two. And if you were to come over to here and look in this area here, what we did was we had another one that was kind of down in here. This one was actually kind of hidden. Now this is going to go very, very quickly from here, but if as you started to break it down, in other words, taking the steps of the enhancer and working your way down into this image, what you would end up finding was smaller images within this. In other words, now the nostrils would kind of become the mouth for a little one here, and you'd find another one that would kind of be out in like here, and then you'd end up with another smaller one that would end up being like in here, and then another even smaller one, and it just keeps going down and down and down and down throughout the whole entire photograph, until what you end up with this whole entire image as you really get into where the pixels would normally be on the TV set, you'd have one that would be, you know, down in here, and there's this whole mishmash in the photograph of all these wavy kind of things. But it goes down and down and down until all of these faces are just nothing but face upon face upon face upon face upon face. And it just goes smaller, 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 smaller. So what is the reality of this photograph? Well, we soon found out it wasn't just a simple woman. Then we said, well, okay, he's got two buddies over in here. Then it got down to, well, but what about these and what about these? And pretty soon, as you keep stepping in and in and in with the enhancer, you find out that the whole entire image is nothing but a puzzle of thousands of faces till it goes into infinity.
Let's go over to Revelations 13, verse 1. Here are some photos of theomorphic beings from Egypt, half animal, half human. Clearly, these are images of demons. Here is a photograph of a theomorphic being, half animal, half human, which is in the Vatican. An image of Satan. Half animal, half human. Why would they have that? Why would they have that on one of the panels in the Vatican? Should be obvious why. Theomorphic, ancient pictures, half animal. If you look, you see their bodies are made of faces. See? You see? Like we saw in the picture of the TV. At first you look and you think, oh, I see just a demon. But then the more that you look, the more you see they're all made of faces. They're all made of other demon faces. This would be a strong man who shows himself by hundreds of other demons coming together like a jigsaw puzzle, like we saw last week, to show you what they want to show you. They transform themselves to whatever it is that they think will fool you. If it's your dead uncle, then they'll show you your dead uncle.